UNC, South Carolina. Battle of the Carolinas.
I like that.
They both call themselves Carolina. We know which one is true. One of them also calls themselves USC. We know the new Big Ten school is the one that gets to call themselves US. I can't even get through it. UNC, looking at Carolina, looking at the Tar Heels. They have two main challenges tomorrow night against South Carolina. I've whittled their entire game plan, their entire scouting report, the entire preview of this contest that will be hotly contested by two rivals down to two main challenges that if North Carolina can overcome, if they can mitigate the damage that these two challenges will levy against them, they will be victorious. Number one, can they replace Josh Downs and Antoine Green without Tez Walker? At this point, I don't see Tez Walker getting his eligibility from the NCAA simply because the NCAA strikes me as the type of organization that, 5 o'clock most days they clock out and they're done, and on Fridays it's probably more like 2 o'clock, and we don't have an answer yet, so I don't see one coming before tomorrow night.
I don't know. The NCAA loves to make it about themselves sometimes, so I could see it just for entertainment purposes. They announce it early tomorrow morning, so at College Game Day, Reese Davis or Kirk Herbstreit gets to say, breaking news, Tez Walker now eligible in the game tonight against North Carolina, or to build the anticipation even more, an hour before kickoff, next thing you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme music hits like it's an old school Monday Night Raw episode, and then Jones Angel in the play-by-play commentary. By God, that's Tez Walker. That's Tez Walker running on the field.
I mean, I hope you're right. I hope he gets to play. I hope, and I mean, making it entertaining, no one ever gets mad about more entertainment. I hope you're right. I don't think the NCAA, A, has that much foresight, B, has that much common sense, or C, cares that much about the individual. So if we expect Tez Walker not to play, they're looking to replace Josh Downs and Antoine Green, two NFL wide receivers. Josh Downs, a draft pick of the Colts. Antoine Green made his mark in the preseason with the Lions, without the main guy who they brought in out of the transfer portal to replace them. Now, Drake May is awesome. Right, I'm very excited by his ability. I'm very excited by Drake May's outlook this season, but he still needs guys to get open. Right, he still needs guys that he can throw it to. Quarterback's kind of a dependent position that way, unless you are Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, and you're just like, forget it, guys. If no one's open, I'll take it myself. So you look at Kobe Paysor, you look at Nate McCollum, another transfer. You look at Gavin Blackwell. All of these guys need to step up and make plays. Step up and get open. Step up, and if you're expecting on being the number 3 wide receiver, you might have to be the number 2. If you're expecting on being the number 2, you may have to be the number 1, and that means you have to play like it. So if those guys step up, and then that's challenge 1 overcome. Now that is very much easier said than done, right? It's tough with all hands on deck to replace a player like Josh Downs, who was really gosh darn good going back to the last year of Sam Howell and into last year with Drake May. And then Antoine Green also, a very dynamic playmaker, had a 70-yard touchdown against the Panthers in the preseason. Right? So it's tough to overcome the absences or the departures of those players, even with all hands on deck. Obstacle number 2, and this is the one that is the most of a hot-button issue, or the maybe most unlikely. Can UNC get pressure on Spencer Rattler? Can UNC get pressure? Can they I mean, yes, you want to get home. You want to sack the quarterback. You want to get him on the ground. You want to make him feel your presence. But I'm talking about just be like falling down in front of him. Just give him some garbage in the pocket that he has to navigate. Make him take his 3-step drop and shuffle left. Can they do that? I've brought up this stat a few times, but it is extremely telling on the type of defense that Carolina had last year. Out of 131 FBS football teams a season ago, they were 128th in sacks per game. That's not Power 5. That's not high revenue. That is, of all 131 FBS football teams, they were 128th in sacks per game. They need to be not just better than that, they need to be light years better than that if they want to turn Spencer Rattler into bad Spencer Rattler, right? Because we've seen it throughout his college career. There's two Spencer Rattlers. There's the one that lives up to being one of the top recruits with the most wow arm talent. And what I remember, because I'm a nerd that follows college recruiting, is he was the guy in Arizona where he grew up with the visor on at all of the camps and the sleeve, the athletic sleeve that was out there acting like he was too cool for school. And you wanted to be like, he's not that good, but in all of those camp situations, he looked like a superhero, and you're like, I guess he gets to be the guy that wears the visor. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Then he entered into college, and at times, when he's given a clean pocket, when he gets to sit back there and dissect your defense, he looks like that superhero. At times, when there's garbage in the pocket, when he's being rattled, when he's forced out of the pocket, he looks more like the guy who you wanted to dislike, right? It looks more like the sorry. The arrogance got the best of you. I saw he's driving around in a G-Wagon, cost like $130,000 with a name, image, and likeness deal. Again, some guys can pull it off. We'll see if he is. But Carolina, their responsibility on the defensive side of the ball is to not let him sit in the pocket, right? 3-step drop, 1, 2, 3, bounce, bounce, bounce. Let me unleash this dart 47 yards downfield because that's what I can do. And that's what I've been doing. That's why I was the top recruit. That's why Lincoln Riley wanted me until Caleb Williams got there. That's why Shane Beamer wanted him in the transfer portal. That's why he dissected, Tennessee and Clemson at the end of the year. That's why it all happened.
I was also going to say, I think another factor you got to take in if you're talking about Carolina's offense is that you got to establish the run game. Obviously, that's big in football. One dark horse I feel like could be a star player in this game and also the season is Amarian Hampton. Freshman last year, Cleveland High School's very own. He set a record in their game against FMU. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, he showed promise early on in the season. Now, obviously, he didn't get as much touches towards the end, but he should be running back number one. So I feel like in the game tomorrow night, he needs to establish his dominance and show that he's going to be a guy that can carry the ball this year for the Heels.
See, I reverse engineer that. And what I mean by that is if we were talking 1997, right, the only way for an offense to play complementary football, which is a very now phrase, right? Back then, I don't know what we called it. But you used to always have to run to open up the pass. You had to set up the run. You had to establish the run. You had to establish the run.
Stop the run. Establish the run. Stop the run.
And somewhere about, 5, 6, 7 years ago, teams recognized that you could throw to open up the pass, you could throw to open up the run. If you had success through the air, teams would start bringing on more defensive backs. They would start dropping more, and then you could run the ball. So you could reverse it, right? When you have Drake May, you don't look at the running game to open up the pass, right? You look at Drake May and his arm to open up the run. So yes, I do agree that if things are cranking for North Carolina, they'll be able to run the ball. But I think that will be a byproduct of them being able to throw it.
Yeah, and I mean, if Tez Walker's not able to play, they still have Kobe Pace, or they still have Nate McCollum. And Nate McCollum, a good transfer they got in during the offseason. So there's plenty of options. We spoke with Tommy Ashley earlier today. We'll be sure to play that here in just a little bit. I mean, he talked about that there's other options just besides Tez Walker. And I think Kobe Pacor is a guy that, has done his dues. He's played behind these two guys in spring, in the offseason. So if there's sort of a hero that can step up in this game, I think it is Pacor, a guy that was right behind Josh Downs last season.
By the way, that voice you hear, Graham Hill, will be covering UNC football for WRAL Digital this year, so follow him for your Tar Heel news.